it's life is happening to me, but like, are you happening to life? You know what I'm saying? Like, that sounds crazy, but are you doing and making the things that you want to see different? Are you making those changes? Hey guys, it's all that jazz. We're on the road to 2K, so go and join today by clicking that red subscribe button. Today I'm talking to you guys about perspectives and perspective on life. Something popped in my head the other day that made me think about changing your perspective. I was like, you know, like my reality and how good I think or feel like my life is all about my perspective. The way we think, the way that we perceive things, it affects how we feel about life. It affects the way that we operate. It affects whether we can keep going, whether we're motivated, whether we're sad, whether we're happy. It's all about our perspective. So I used to do all the time, like this would be me, where I'll have a bad day and all of a sudden like, or I'll have a, and this was something that like my husband taught me along the way, but like something negative would happen and it bothered me, so I would let it bother my whole day. Like, instead of looking at it like, just because it's a bad moment doesn't mean it's a bad day, right? So I feel like I realized that just because something happened that I didn't really like, that doesn't mean my whole 24 hours has to be messed up. Because y'all know, you open the cabinet and then one or two things falls out on you, and then you walk out the door and then you left something at home, and it just feels like a trickle, right? But we also always have to remember, like, it's not a bad moment. It's not a bad day, it's just a bad moment. And also, it's not a bad life, it's just a bad day. Whenever you feel like, woe is me, or man, this just really like sucks, it's just for the moment in time, and it's probably more than likely teaching you something. And even though it doesn't feel good at the moment, and it feels like nothing's ever going to change, and it feels like you're stuck in this space, you really don't have to be stuck in that space. Like, life is all about our choices. That's number one. Thing two is, I feel like we also all have to be more accountable for our actions. So before we have this perspective of like, my life is just so terrible, and you know, it's life is happening to me, but like, are you happening to life? You know what I'm saying? Like, that sounds crazy, but are you doing and making the things that you want to see different? Are you making those changes, or are you just sitting back saying like, well, if only this didn't happen, or it's really because of this? Now, I'm not speaking on things that are real deep, like trauma or things that were out of your control. I'm not talking about things that happen to you, because people go through some really deep stuff, and sometimes it takes like more than, you know, you just waking up and being like, get over it. Like, that's never my intention or anything that I'm trying to say. I just think that before we beat ourselves up, or before we say, you know, everything is just not good, and today was just terrible, and he did this to me, and she did this to me, and you know, just like blaming the whole world for our problems, it's like, but what about our choices? Instead of feeling like, oh, rejection, you have to look at it as redirection. Or feeling like, you know, oh man, this is never gonna change, but maybe this is just for a season, this is just where you're at for right now, but that doesn't mean you'll be here 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, if you make the right steps, if you take the steps to change, if you want that, you know. And it takes working on yourself and realizing your flaws, and also realizing your strengths and your capability as well. I think that's why we get so caught up in being like feeling stuck in life, or feeling like we can't do anything, or not successful, or whatever we might be feeling on the inside, is because we're not even looking at the good parts, or the good things that have happened, or how things have changed and how far we have come. You know, I think we're also stuck on, not all, I feel like many of us can be stuck in a zone of like just continuously trying to climb some mountain, or trying to get to a certain spot, but we forget to really sit back and remember like where we came from, or where we started. And that can definitely help shift your mindset and your perspective of like, you know, just 2 years ago I was just upset because I wasn't here, and now I'm finally here, but now I'm just trying to get somewhere else. And it's like, we really have to sit in a moment and realize like, we're gonna get there eventually, and if we don't, we're supposed to be somewhere else. I really think that, you know, perspective is wisdom too. You have to learn. So like, perspective is not something that you just wake up and you're like, oh, so my life really is great. Like, no, it's not something that, it's something you go through. And for me, my perspective shifted in my life when I started being spoiled and realizing, you know, things really could be worse. And then feeling that and going through, when you go through life and you have a really, really difficult time, it makes you so grateful when you get out of that. And that's not to say that life is always gonna be on and up after that. Like, we all have ups and downs, but when you really have your down and then you get up and you like, dang, like, it really could be worse. And that's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me motivated to wake up, do the same thing, take care of the kids, be with my husband. Like, I'm okay with the mundane. Like, I'm okay with the quote unquote boring. Like, yeah, I still want to like do stuff and, you know, explore and all of that stuff, but like where I'm at, I'm okay with the growth that it takes and the process to get there. But it took me a minute to feel okay with this step, because I always needed more. And then I started realizing when I had less, I was like, oh shoot, like I was tripping before. Like, I was really tripping before because I thought I didn't have nothing then, and I really don't have nothing now. So like, when you go through life and you just gain this wisdom, it gives you, I feel like you, for some people, not everybody, but it's giving me a sense of gratitude, because I'm like, yo, we've been here before. We've been where we can't, you know, we got $3 left in our account. Not even just financially. I've been at a job where I'm like, I do not want to go because I just dislike it with all my soul. I've been in a space where I'm just drained. I've been in so many different places mentally that when something knocks me out, like something knocks me down in life, I know how to get right back up, just because it's like, all right, and what else you got? What else you got? That's how you have to look at it. Like, when you feel like life is knocking you down, you got to get back up and be like, okay, what's next? Like, you know, you got to hit them with the dodge. You hit them with the 1-2 and be like, but I'm gonna be good. Like I always say, cry them tears. Like, cry them tears, you know, let your anger out in whatever way, you know, feel how you feel, but just get back up and keep going, because you're going out there for somebody. Like, it's not just for yourself. I have to imagine life as a progressive thing, like where I want to be at. I can't look at life as, because I'm not there right now, I'm just this terrible person, or I'm not doing life right, or life won't work out for me. It just means that I need to figure out what it is that I need to work on, because sometimes you even go through the same tests and the same things over and over so that you can finally move on to the milestone. Sometimes you have to look at life as a game a little bit, because you got to keep playing. You learn to realize that challenges are really lessons that, like I said, that you learn, and you're taking something out of everything that you go through so that you don't have to necessarily go through it again. And like I said, even though the season feels like this is the worst season ever, you know, like what you don't want to hear is like, it's just gonna get better, like don't worry about it, it's okay, like it's all right, you know, you're gonna be good. Yeah, that's encouraging, but at the same time, you just want to be, you really want to know the why, you want to know the how, you want to know your future, you want to know, but what is life gonna look like? Am I making the right decisions? Did I make the right decisions? And I feel the more you question yourself, the more lost that you are, and the more that you start feeling like you're not doing what you need to be doing or where you should be at, when you're exactly where you should be at, you know? And I think we just have to continue to have a gratitude and a growth perspective that even when you achieve your milestones, it's gonna always be something else that's next that you want or that you need. But we have to look at it like, not, oh man, I don't have that, but like, all right, bet I passed that level, on to the next level, you know what I'm saying? And we have to stay, I always say this, but like, we have to stay in our own lane. We cannot be in other people's lanes trying to figure out where they going, because we're not in their car, we're in our own car. And we might have our family in our car. We got people who we want to take on a journey with us, we got friends we want to take with us, and you know, we got riders, we got all of that stuff. But if I'm in Susie's lane and she skyrocketing, she not worried about me, I need to be worried about myself, you know? So just like she is. Another thing I've learned is like, to talk to people who've been through what you've been through or are very knowledgeable. So if someone is, I'll use working out for an example. If somebody is, you know, fit, they eat clean, and that's what you would like for your life, you should speak to someone that is on that level. Or and not someone that's like, oh well, I don't really know, sometimes I do this and sometimes I do that. That's not gonna be how you successfully get to being who you want to be in that area. And then financially, if I see that somebody is, you know, blowing all their money and they not spending it on the right thing, that's not the person I want to talk to about their money. When I see somebody who, you know, is doing well for themselves and they spending their money and wisely, they saving up, they have investment accounts, like just, you know, achieving the where I be, that's who I want to talk to. That's who I need to have a conversation with. So whether that's, like I said, an example of fitness or the example of finances. My next example is parenting. If I see that I like the way that you're parenting your child, that's somebody I want to get advice from, you know. So whatever it is, you know, make sure you get insight and have those conversations, like how did you get to this space? And don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to, because closed mouths don't get fed. And you can research all day long, but it's nothing like talking to somebody who's been through what you've been through. It's nothing like it to help you feel like, okay, you're not alone and you will make it out of this space and this is how you probably can go about it, and life does get better. You know, I love talking to people who were on the same level and they're like going through something and I'm like, we went through the same thing, like, or I went through the same thing. I'm like, let me tell you about it, you know, to be able to help somebody move forward or know that they should always have hope and always have faith. You can't always control what happens to you in life, but you can control how you see it, and that is power in perspective. It's so much power in perspective. You can literally get in a car accident and be like, wow, this sucks. Or you can get in a car accident and if you're okay, be like, that really could have been worse than it is, and I'm gonna get this car fixed, but at least I'm healthy. You know, you could not get a job, but you don't know that the blessing, like, that was blocked because you might have been about to walk into a toxic environment. You know, you might didn't get to go on a date with that person that you just really was head over heels for, but that could have been a very unhealthy relationship, you know. So over time, like, I start seeing stuff and I'm like, that's why it didn't work out, because it makes sense and it clicks, but even it doesn't feel good in the moment and you don't understand it in the moment, but later on you be like, all right, I see what you was doing there, I see what you was doing, and it makes sense, and it makes you feel like more confident in when things don't work out, that it doesn't feel so much like the end of the world, because you know something else is coming, or something greater is coming, whether that's now, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, you know. And just keep on keeping on, keeping your head down. I'm telling y'all, like, our mind can eat us up, it can eat us alive. It could, sometimes I'll have, like, in my brain, you have to consciously, like, when you talk to yourself in your head, you know, we all tell ourselves things, and our brain is not necessarily wired for the first thought to always be like so positive, right? So it's a conscious thing that you have to consistently work on, telling yourself positive things in your head or changing your perspective, because it's initially not always going to be, yeah, life is so grand, life is so great. And if you start beating yourself up in your head or making yourself feel down in the dumps, and you have to, like, sometimes, that's what I'm saying, everybody has to figure out how to cope, because we're not always going to be rainbows and roses and flowers. Everybody's been through different stuff, everybody's brain has been shaped, and everybody thinks different thoughts based off of what they've been through or what they're going through, and you just never ever know. And that's why I feel like my biggest what I try to work on is treating people with kindness, or not making assumptions, because I just don't know what people are going through. And even though I might get offended about stuff, I try to keep it cordial, whatever it might be. I might be like, I ain't really like that, but I've been learning to keep my mouth shut and just kind of move on and still love that person. It don't, no matter what it is or who it is, you know. I'm not saying let people do you dirty and just, you know, turn the, I mean, you should turn the other cheek as much as you can, and don't, you know, let people beat you up, don't let people run over you, you know, still have a backbone. But certain things we have to really try to sit back, think about our perspective, change our perspective. And that's the only thing that helps me keep going, is changing my perspective. Because I really could be in the space, you'll always be sad if you're comparing your life, or you're like, dang, if only I could, if only I could. But that's the reality for everything. We all could be out here like, I just wish I had a Lambo, I wish I had a mansion, I wish I had, not even just the things in life, I wish I could travel every single day. But life is always gonna bring something. You could be like, oh, we finally finna go to Cabo, whoop-de-whoop. But on your way to Cabo, the flight didn't go that great. And then on your way to Cabo, while you was in Cabo, the food wasn't that good. And then when you got to your hotel, the hotel was dirty. So like, nothing's gonna be perfect. And when you start realizing that, and you start pushing perfectionism to the side, it helps you look at life in a better way. It helps you feel more at peace and calm. Another thing about perspective, I think, with people, is realizing that people aren't perfect either. So you're not perfect, and people aren't perfect, and learning not to expect someone to act a certain way, react a certain way, or say something will bring you more peace too. Because y'all know what be getting us down in the dumps is the expectations. That's the hardest thing, because it depends on the people in your life. For me, I don't have expectations for strangers. I do have expectations as far as respect goes and just manners go. So little stuff to me can bother me. Like if I'm walking and you see me walking and I'm 2 inches from the door, like you could have held the door open, right? But I'm not going to go get ratchet and fight you. I might say something under my breath, but certain things that irritates my soul, it's like not that deep though for me to like risk my life or like go to jail for it, right? So I think perspective, y'all, perspective is everything. There's power in perspective, and I think it can help us navigate life a lot easier if we just keep on changing our perspective. But anyway, I hope that you found this video helpful. If you did, make sure that you like so that I know to make more content like this. Comment below, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.